Hey y'all, welcome to the Moving with Millennials podcast with your favorite millennial realtors.
We are 4 top producing agents in the DFW area, and we are ready to share the good, bad, and the real life of real estate.
Whether you're thinking about getting into real estate, already an agent, or just curious about what your agent really does, join us.
Tune in every Wednesday to see what it's really like to be on this side of the transaction.
Hey y'all, welcome to another episode of Moving with Millennials. So today we are going to jump right into talking about kids and real estate.
Yes.
This is kind of, it's a timely thing because, you're going to be on maternity leave like just around the corner.
Yes.
Literally, so the plan by the time this one comes out is next week. I will be on maternity leave. I plan to take 3 weeks off, which this is what I want to run by you guys. My plan of taking maternity leave, what's going to happen, once she's here, how real estate's going to look. I'm very stressed about this topic.
Yeah.
It's so close. And, but yeah, next week I'll be on maternity leave, which is crazy.
Yeah.
I have to preface this. You become a parent and you get superpowers. I don't know how, what happens. Do you feel it, Jake? You just, as soon as you become a parent,
You find
just
the
figure
time.
it out.
Okay.
It just kind of happens where you have no choice, right? So you just
Yeah.
figure it out, and I feel like you get superpowers.
I think we've talked about this, so it may be a little different for adoption. So your body, how you're kind of staying
the
up at
hormones.
night. Well, the hormones and how I'm sure she keeps you up at night, kind of moving and whatnot. So that's your body is kind of preparing you for sleepless nights. It's part of human evolution.
Yeah,
Adoption's very different. You go from sleeping regular nights to the next day you have a baby.
Yeah.
And so it's your body is not
And you
preparing
don't know
you.
When
Yeah.
you're going to have the baby.
Right. And so it's the same thing your husband is kind of going with it through you. So his he's kind of getting prepared. You're probably tossing and turning and maybe waking up Brian a little bit more. So I don't know that I walked right into superpowers.
Yeah, it's
I walked into
What'd you do?
beep,
Yeah.
what is
Here's
going on
this child.
here? Yeah.
Now what?
It's literally they just handed over.
Yeah.
And they
So-
tossed you in the operating room.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I don't know that I walked into superpowers, but eventually, yes, I do feel you kind of realize oh, I'm capable of my body can do a lot more on a lot less sleep than I realized.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I need less in life, I guess is a
Yeah.
good way to put it.
That's so true.
I think my fight or flight too. You just there's an option, get it done or don't. And so I'm okay, well I'm willing to do anything and everything to
Right.
make it work and scramble. And you're motivated, so I know you will be able to do it.
Right.
So
I
don't stress.
have these questions.
Yeah.
So first
Yeah.
of all, Brandie has 2 kids, which I'm going to hear y'all's story on how how you obviously not how you became parents, but but of that and then the
Well,
transition.
Well, we would have very different stories.
Oh
and
my
the
God.
transition into real estate, how that was with kids. And then Jake has 1 daughter, so Maggie and I are kind of we have all the questions.
Yes,
we wanna know.
definitely.
And then obviously I have one on the way, so it's
Yeah.
that's where it's prompting this episode. So what's y'all's story? Tell us a little bit about getting into real estate with kids. How was that transition?
Okay, so I had both kids when I got into real estate. So
How old were they? What ages?
oh gosh, 2 and 1.
Okay,
Oh my
so they were
gosh,
very
yeah.
young. So it's almost they don't know any different,
Right.
which is kind of nice.
It is.
Yeah.
So 2 and 1, and I started studying while Pat was in football season, and I was in Dallas, and so that was hard. I was full-time mom, and then studying at night, but then up if the kids needed me, and so I actually paused. And when Pat got home, that's when I knocked out the rest of my courses, and then I passed my test right before football season, in 2020. And then that was the whole world. I remember the whole world had, so it was kind of nice too. Not kind of nice. I wish it didn't happen, but they had canceled all of Pat's spring training, so he was home. So that was so nice for me to be able to get my studying done, my tests done, and then he left in July or August, and my best friend came in and stayed with me for 4 weeks because he was I'll just help you. He was just so great and kind of helped me get on my feet. And I don't know. I just kind of I have a village, which is so nice because Pat's gone so much. So when he's gone, I have people who help me. So
which I want to dive into, how that now looks.
I would have never been able to do it without Josh coming in and helping me, and then my other friend just kind of supported me along the way. And I've had my parents were still living here too. So my dad would come over almost every day, and so it was a transition, but
So having that community was big.
having the community,
I
I think it takes a village.
Two, you're slightly different than either one of us because for a large portion of the year, she's a single mom.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And
I don't
literally,
know how you do it.
And I have JC 50% of the time because we share custody. So it is a little bit different.
Yeah.
So kind of keep that in mind too, is that you'll have more, maybe not more help, but help like attached to your hip. Brian's like always there.
And like you can go to like appointments knowing that he can take her during evenings and on the weekends.
Those are things, that we're definitely gonna have to figure out. Like just, I know he likes to go work out in the afternoons and like or evenings, and he has to like stay sane.
And
I'm just like,
changes.
you may have to switch to the morning workout. I don't know.
For sure.
So
y'all will figure it out though.
Yeah.
So for me, I got licensed in 2019. So JC was, I think, 4. Maybe that sounds right. No, she was 5. Nope, 4. So licensed, late 2019. So she definitely remembers like when I did other things like professionally, but this is what she's known as she's been old enough to really remember and understand. And so I had like a normal-ish life, for about like a year, and then the divorce started. Mm-hmm. So that first year obviously was different than my experience with real estate right now. So that was a little bit easier because there would be like weekends when I would host open houses that like if I had been in showings in the morning and went straight to an open house, like Jason and JC would stop by and sometimes like bring me food, and back then open houses weren't so insane that like I couldn't take like a couple minutes like actually eat. Now I can't imagine that, but or that the 3 of us would like go together and like put out signs and they would like drop me off at the open house. So there were different things that we would do to kind of like make it inclusive. Mm-hmm. And I know that's one of your questions later, so we'll touch on that a little bit more. And now it's kind of one of those things where, it's just a little bit different now. Yeah. So, and we'll kind of jump into that.
And that's what I'm trying to figure out. So, like, you guys had kids before you got into real estate. So, I'm almost wondering, like, for Maggie and I, like, if it's going to be I wouldn't say better. I feel like either way, you figure it out, right? But if it's maybe going to be, I don't know, a good transition still that we, are in real estate now and then bringing in the kids, or, you know what I mean?
Well, I think you guys have already established help. Like, you already have assistants and people helping you do showings and stuff. So I think that having that foundation is really good, too.
I think, too, something with that is that we were learning our real estate careers. Both our kids were, really 1 through 5. Your kid is changing almost, if not daily, the first couple of years. 3 through 5, they're changing almost weekly. They're learning something new. So it's like we were learning real estate while also still getting used to like really young kiddos. Right. You guys are going to be like established in real estate. Like, yes, the market changes and you have to adapt to that, but not as drastically as like we were like trying to get established and really get our feet like off the ground and start making money.
I guess it's all perspective too, because like while 100%, I'm like, okay, great. Like, I feel like I'm a little more established in real estate to be able to make now this next step into like where it might hopefully will be easier. But at the same time, like, of course, I have my limiting beliefs of like, I don't want to miss out. I know how important those first 1 to 4 years of the child's life are, and I'll never get it back. And I don't want to be the mom that's working all the evenings and weekends and missing out on those important milestones with how quickly they're changing.
Right.
So
that's what I'm freaking out about. It's just like figuring out showings. I'm so bad at like saying no to business and like turning off. So like that, how do y'all balance showings with like?
Yeah, I want it. Yeah,
like evenings and weekends.
Do you take your kids like? Two appointments? What kind of appointments?
Yeah, so
I think having kids though, that's your priority.
Yeah,
and even I get caught and I forget that, and I do want to hustle. I think before I had kids, everyone told me like, well, you can't do everything and have kids, and so I like kind of had middle fingers up, and I was like, yes, I can. Like, you can do it. Like, you guys can do it.
I know.
Like, and it's
I'm the
just
same way when people
and
say
so,
stuff like that.
They say that they're like, well, we can't travel so much. You can't do this. I'm like, oh, watch. Like, let's go. I'm burning this place down. Like, and I think like, yes, I set the precedent. Like, my clients know that like if my husband's out of town and it's an evening showing last moment, like, my kids are probably coming with us. Yeah. And my kids, and JC knows too, like, you open the doors, you turn on all the lights, like, you just take them with, and even professionally, like, I tell the kids, like, life's a party. Like, if everything's fun and you do it and you make it fun, like, they'll want to work with you, and then them seeing that you have that drive and showing them that you do it, like, I don't want them to ever think that they hinder me or hold me back. Like, so if they go with me, then you just do it. You just figure it out.
Yeah. I can't say I would offer, like, the opposite perspective is that, like, yes, obviously Jace is my priority, but like that doesn't mean that work takes a backseat for me. I'm still like professionally very driven, and you are too. It's like we're saying the same thing, but I'm saying like if at times you feel like I really want to focus on work and like the kiddo duties kind of have to take a little bit of a backseat, that is okay. Like we all like, I like am really big about like, I don't want to be defined. Like when someone thinks of me, I don't want them to think like dad or husband is like their first descriptor of me. Like I want to be able to stand as like my own
identity.
My identity cannot ever be linked to something or depend on something else.
And they go do things.
Correct.
Like, we have to have our own person. Like I completely agree.
Yeah. So it's like I make sure that like I am also prioritizing like enough for myself that I feel like I'm investing because like my career is what's going to allow me to live the life that I want to live. Taking care of JC, focusing on that solely. Like that's not going to provide for me, and I'm not going to be able to provide for her. So it is okay to still feel really, really driven and committed to work.
Yeah.
Well, and even today, the kids were struggling leaving. I mean, this is the first week Pat's gone, so this is already a very hard week in our house. But Joey just like broke down and she's like, I just don't want you to work today. And I like got her dressed. And I said, Joe, like mommy gets to go to work. I'm so lucky. Like mommy gets to work, and I work so that we can travel, so we can have fun, and so you can get your bounce house. Like you just have to like give them that perspective. And like I work hard, Joe, so that I can provide you with this life.
Yeah.
Like
which is the exact reason I do cookies for closings with JC.
Yeah.
And like our little saying is that the rewards for hard work are very sweet.
Yeah.
And so it's like, you know, it's like it's just something too that she knows like, oh, it's a closing. So when I'm going to an appointment, she's like, is this a closing? I'm like, no, it's a showing. And then she'll be like, are you going to sell the house? I'm like, well, we hope so.
Yeah,
you know?
for sure.
And so she understands the process a little bit more, and it kind of gets her to buy in to my goals in a way, which I think is really important for your kids to know your goals and to also like want you to get them. And so attaching a reward, like me hitting my goals, but her getting a reward for it gets her to buy in. So I think that's something really important.
Yeah, no, I love that. No, that's where I definitely try to refocus like that bold law where it's like the purpose of business is to fund the perfect life.
Yes.
Right.
Like I keep almost having to remind myself that it's like, and I think it might be different. I'm not saying because you're a guy, like it's that much different. I'm sure you have this too, but it's like women especially, like we have a little bit of like mom guilt where it's like, because my husband's probably not feeling guilty about working 8 to 5 right now. Like, and you know,
well,
and
I think that's because probably for him, he feels pressure to work 8 to 5 to be like their breadwinner. It's like each one of us feels society pressures in a different way.
For sure. But it's like he knows that I'm going to have to take off the 3 months and like, or whatever I want to take off. And it's like, he knows that I'm going to be the one that's more attentive to her at the beginning. So it's like, then there's that pressure of like, I mean, I want to go back to work.
Let me stop you because you're a team. Like, you both have a baby.
Yeah.
So, like, yes, you both, like, yes, you are the mom, but, like, you both have to be a team. And I think that is so, like, going into it's so important to remember that.
Yeah. No,
like,
for
it's
sure.
a together thing.
And that's where, hopefully we'll figure it out. We haven't, like, I feel like I'm the one that wants to, like, sit down and plan it. And I know we can't plan everything, but, like, at least talk about, like, what does he expect or what do I expect, you know, kind of thing. So we haven't really sat down to do that. I mean, he says, oh, I'll be there for all the diaper changes and do all this and all that. And I'm like, which is great.
You don't need to be. You need to alternate those. That one person isn't getting tired.
Yeah, at the beginning. Yeah. I'm fully, like, when I'm on leave, I'm, like, fully okay with being the one that's my job, right? Because he's got to be working and attentive and get rest and all that kind of stuff. So
you're going to need a break, too, from that, too.
Yeah, so
well, no. He'll definitely help at some, but I understand that it won't be 50-50
So I stayed home for about a month. Jason went back to work, like, when Jason was a week old. So I had 3 weeks where I was the stay-at-home mom, basically. And, you know, JC was sleeping through the night at 5 weeks. So those first 3 weeks, we had a feeding at midnight, 3 a.m., and 6 a.m. I was totally fine doing the midnight and the 3 a.m. feedings, but I told him, when you're up at 5:30 or 5:45 getting ready for work, you're doing the 6 a.m. feeding so that I can finally get caught up on sleep between that 6 a.m. and then that, like, that 3 a.m. and that 9 a.m. feeding. Like, if you take the 6 one, then I can finally get a good stretch of sleep.
Yeah.
So it's just knowing how to, like, you're basically delegating to each other. And so it's not that you have to do every one. It's like if he can do a morning one, give him that morning one. You know, like whatever it is.
I would prefer, me to take the night shift and then sleep in the morning, and then he takes the morning. Yeah.
The best thing about Pat, and Pat was just the best dad ever. I didn't ask him to do this, so I know it's weird, but every time they'd cry at night to wake up, he'd get them, change the diaper. I would feed because I breastfed, and then he would burp and put them back. And so, like, that made me feel like I wasn't drowning because, like, both of us were up. Because when he was sleeping and I wasn't, I was like, ugh.
Oh, so it didn't bother me if I knew, like, I'm doing this one, so you do that one to get
yeah, but, like, that was something, like, we figured out that, like, if he could help me, like, he slept while, and he had to go back to sleep while I was feeding, and then when I was done feeding, he would burp her and put her back, and then it was just, like, it felt like a team. Like, it felt like it was just, like, we were doing it together, which was really nice, and then, of course, he was working, so I would take all day, but, like, having that team mate was helpful.
So,
go ahead.
No, I definitely want to dive in a minute more into, like, the maternity leave part of it, or, like, that transition into it. So, like, getting out of maternity leave back into real estate, which I know you guys didn't have to do that necessarily, but back into work. And that's why I feel like this is so different. Like, real estate's different than, like, I'm not saying, like, it's easier if you work an 8 to 5 job, but it's, like, one of those things you just go back to work, and it's, like, you kind of just jump back in.
You put your kiddo in and daycare.
Right, you kind of know that plan and what it looks like. Our career is so different where because we are self-employed, because we can choose our own hours, you know, I gave those air quotes, but we have the flexibility. Yeah. Well, I mean, we have the choice, I guess is really what I'm trying to say. We have the choice to not go back to work if we don't want to.
Yeah. You could be on a referral status for a year.
No one's going to call us and be like, well, you no longer have a job, you know, or something like that. Yeah. Or because my thinking is, I don't know what childcare is going to look like when, I get back from maternity leave, but like I have so many options. She could go right into daycare, that 8 to 5, and everything seemed normal-ish from, that point. Right. I could easily get someone who just, when I need someone for appointments,
hire a nanny.
Hire someone that comes to the house and just watches her for a couple hours kind of thing. So there's so many options. So your kids are a little bit younger. I know JC probably still needs like a babysitter at that kind of point. What do y'all, if Pat's not around or if Jason's on an option, do you guys like have someone like either like family or
so you're asking for like showings like evenings and weekends?
Yeah, say like you have to go on an appointment that it wouldn't be appropriate to bring a kid. Like I can imagine like you go to a brand new listing appointment, right?
Yeah, right.
You don't know the people. It probably wouldn't look great if I said, by the way, my 2-year-old's coming with me.
Yeah.
Brandie Scales is showing up.
Yeah.
So for me, appointments, obviously, that it's not appropriate to bring her on. Jason and I don't really switch times, so that's not really a thing for us because it just makes things...
He wouldn't grab her last minute if needed?
I don't know that he would or wouldn't, but we just do not do that. We're not establishing that. Yep. So for us, so when I need that, it's either, I'm very fortunate, my parents still live by, and JC pretty much spends almost every weekend with my parents, whether or not she's with me or with Jason. They kind of watch all the grandkids every weekend. So that kind of helps me a lot on weekends. I know I can stack my appointments then Saturday afternoon and Sunday morning lunchtime. So to where I can be functioning and kind of available. For evenings, I just try to really push. If it's going to be like a brand new appointment, I know I can't take her. I'm fortunate in that, fortunate and unfortunate, I only have her 50% of the time. So if I know I have her Monday, Tuesday, and Friday, I try to push that appointment. I don't tell them why, but I tell them, hey, for an evening availability, I'm only available Wednesday, Thursday this week.
Do you set more boundaries?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They don't need to know why.
Do you set that expectation like on your consultations? Like, hey, I may have my child at this showing.
Yeah. So then once I'm at the listing appointment or the buyer's appointment, for that first time, I let them know that I do have 50% custody of my daughter, which means some weekends I have her, other weekends I don't, some evenings. So I tell them, it's not that I can't show you those weekends. It's just that if we do, she will maybe be with me. Sometimes she stays with my parents or with friends or whatever, but sometimes it's just a possibility that if it's a time where I do have her, that it's a possibility that I can have her with me for an appointment.
If it's evenings or weekends.
Yes.
What about like during business hours? Because I'm even thinking like, okay, if I can manage to where I'm not doing as much weekends and evenings, like if I have someone because it's really buyers, right? Buyers are typically the ones that need us evenings and weekends. Like my listing stuff, I can usually handle during business hours. Right. Just happens that way. But during business hours, then what would you do at that point if you had to go on a listing appointment?
Well, right now for me, I'm thankful because she's in
school.
First grade and in kindergarten. So
and
that's different.
So for me, we had a nanny come in last year, and I always thought that I wanted someone out because I don't know, when the kids are in the house and I'm working, I have that mom guilt where I feel like I need to be helping them, or like I would hear them giving her a hard time, or I hear them like kicking back. I'm like, okay, I'll just go like give it to them. But when we shifted out of taking them somewhere, it's just been hard. If I could do it again, I would hire a full-time nanny.
Like
in-house. A live-in nanny.
Yeah.
But my life is very different. Like, I need someone who can... Traveling last year by myself with 2 kids every week was exhausting. So, and having someone just to kind of go with me and do everything.
I will certainly go with you to at least one game this year.
I will be your in-house nanny. Just like JC may be coming too.
No, we can pick a non-JC weekend. That's totally fine.
I just think having that person come to your house and you can come here, like you have an office here, like giving you that space during business hours, even if it's Tuesday, Thursday, like giving yourself that space. And I like the kids being at home because they do have their toys, they have their school, they have their environment. So my biggest recommendation would be having maybe like a part-time nanny that would work for you 2 to 3 times a week, just to like let you take that space. I'm really bad about taking the space. I feel like I want to do everything, but I also don't want to miss them, so it's hard. But you removing yourself from the house and having them stay at the house, especially as a newborn, would be really easy.
Yeah, and I feel like my comfortability level would be to have that person, especially because, so my goal is to take off like 3 months after she's here. That's my goal. We'll see. Give me a month. I already know, like, we have our group chat, and I literally was like, I hope they still texted the group chat, because even if it's like I don't answer. One started. No! Even if it's like I don't answer, I need to like feel connected or something. It may be like 3 a.m. when I respond, but...
It's okay, Granny. We'll still need your advice.
Definitely.
Yes. But at least I'm still like doing something, because I can imagine like 1 month I'm going to be like, okay, get me out of here. I need to go see a house or do something.
I can't tell you. You feel like the strongest urge of like, I need to see an adult human.
Yes.
Like, not my spouse. I need to see... like society, like I need out of this.
And then when you like get to see a normal human, like a person in life, you're like, oh my gosh, hi, how you doing? It's like,
you're so eager.
What's the 411?
Because you're like so excited just to be with someone who's an adult.
You get so wrapped up in little baby voices and whatnot that like I had like out of body experiences to where I was like, what has happened to me? Like, I've now been in a baby voice for 48 hours straight. Like, I've got to get out of the house.
Even if it's just to go grab coffee. And, like, to work at a coffee shop. And, like, to do that stuff. Like, it's so important. Even, like, after the first month. Like, to have Brian take her and you just breathe, sit in your car and drink coffee. Like, there were so many times where Pat would get home and we were living in Chicago at the time. And I would just be like, Pat, I just need to, like, go for a drive. Like, I just need to sit
here. Go to Target.
And just feel like myself. Like, it just, because becoming a mom and being a mom is so, it's exhausting. And I think everyone, like, shuns the people who complain about it. It's not that we're complaining about it, but it is just the hardest transition of your life. So you need people that you know you can call and vent and cry to and come to. So get your community and like lean into us when you can. Because
we'll be leaning into y'all. That's for sure.
I can tell you too, just like this is not attached to this, but like as a parent, there will come a moment in like the first month of your child's life where the crying won't stop and you just think like, I'm just going to walk away. And you will leave them in the crib for a couple minutes just so you can walk away and take a couple of nice deep breaths.
That was the best thing. I think my aunt said that. She was like, Brandie, put them down and go outside. Put her in her crib. You know she's safe.
They can't roll over yet.
Go
They're
outside
be totally fine.
So you can't hear her crying. Take the monitor. You can watch her, but turn the sound off. And just sit there by yourself and breathe. And I'll never forget. It was like Joey's 3rd day home. Oh my gosh. I was just so overwhelmed and my hormones and frustrated.
You're overly tired.
And so tired. It was 2 a.m. and I was literally just, she would not stop crying. Like she would not. I tried everything. And so I finally just put her in her crib and I'm just laid in the rocking chair just sobbing and Pat like the door and he was like, I think you should go to bed. And I was like, okay. And as soon as he picked her up, she was fine.
Oh,
but like
my
she could
sense
that I was like
energy.
stressed. She like was just like
yours.
running off of me. And as soon as I got to the bed, I like literally fell asleep. But I heard that she wasn't crying. And I was like,
that makes sense.
Like, just like having that, like I was so grateful that he did that because I was just at my wit's end.
It's okay to step away.
I'm glad Brian's taking like some dad classes. Like last night he took one and they were talking about like postpartum, like they were talking about postpartum stress and then postpartum depression, like and when that transitions. And he's sitting here, or I could hear the instructor say, like, there may be a day where she's just sitting there, all of a sudden she starts crying. And, like, Brian's like, oh, Jesus. He was like, and I was like, I don't know. That could be me. It's
I know.
like,
you, like, don't cry. So it'll be.
So hard.
I've cried a little this pregnancy, but it's definitely like more towards the end right now. Like I wanted to cry this morning and I stopped myself, which probably I just need to just get it out.
Yeah,
it's probably gonna be tonight. Yeah. So
that's
it's like
what I'm worried about.
you just have to like get it out. Like there's no reason, but
know that like you do have us. If you reach that point, you need help. Like we will come.
I'm hopeful. Like of course, like me being the planner, and I'm like, ideally, perfect world, like this is what it looks like. Like I'm hopeful. Like I have the first couple weeks where it's like learning the new life, or learning ish, like how to put her to bed, all that kind of stuff. Cute. His sister's gonna.
I think that first couple weeks,
like
cute.
Well,
and then they change, and you're like, I've got to adjust to this.
Well, it's better for me to think that way than be like, my life's over. It's gonna suck.
No, it's not that it's over, but
go into it knowing that like you know nothing.
Yeah.
Like you know nothing, and like as much as you can plan, it's gonna go this way.
Yeah.
You're like, I know everything. Pivot. Like you just have to be able to drop it and go.
You could plan for like I'm gonna do X, Y, and Z, but then your child could be born and maybe she's gonna have colic, and like every single thing you've ever planned is like you have to accommodate something else. You got to do this, or you could be planning on breastfeeding, and all of a sudden, like, your child just won't, and then you've got to adjust, like, formula life, and that's so different. It's like, so no matter what you plan, it's like, there will always be something
and
that
that's
you
like,
have to pivot.
I feel like I know the basics of stuff, like, I know how to, like, the basics of, like, putting her to sleep, the basics of breastfeeding, like, I feel like I know the basics, but I'm really proud of myself for not, like, over-researching each option, because it's, like, I do want to be more flexible. And literally, like, Brian was talking about something, and I said, well, I just plan to Google it when we get there. Like, colic, like, I know what it is.
Yeah.
But how to, like, figure it out or what to do and, like, all that, which I know you really can't do much with it. But
there's no reason to stress about it now.
Like,
until you get there, there's no reason to worry about it.
Like
that's the whole thing. Go
figure it out then.
Like, arms up. I don't know what's going to happen. We're going to do it. And you're going to just do great.
Yeah.
And
well, my child's going to sleep 24 hours, like, no problem, nothing, so it's all good.
Well, I mean, like, I was, like, I was so prepared. I was like, oh, gosh, like, she's never going to sleep. And then, like, 5 weeks and she was sleeping through the night. And I had there were 3 of us that our kids were all born within a week, and we were all really good friends. Mm-hmm. And one of them, her child was still sleeping in her bed until he was, like, 4 years old.
Yeah, no.
And so, like,
once
I realized that, I just was like, I'm super lucky that JC's an easy baby, So it's like, I had stressed and worried about so many things that, like, I didn't really need to worry about.
I've already looked into, like, this may be a hot topic, but, like, sleep training and stuff. So, like, our goal is within 2 weeks, she's, like, hopefully in her bed.
2 weeks?
Yeah.
JC is 5. 5
days. Where I'm not saying she's sleeping through the night, but like she's.
I was like, hold on.
No, where she's in her bed.
Yeah,
no. She will still be up in the night.
For your sanity, I always felt like if they were in the room, I heard everything, so I was waking up. If they were in their bed, then I felt like everyone had their own space and you could do whatever. Like, it just is better for. It was better for my mental health.
Yeah,
so
she'll cough and sneeze and coo and all those kinds of things. Where like if she's in your room. Like you'll wake up every time and think like, is she still breathing? But if it's a monitor and you're in another room,
I was saying if it's a monitor and she's like crying, like we'll at least hear that.
Yeah. The best thing is just to start with like nap times, put her in there just to get her used to naps and all that good stuff.
Yeah, I'm following there's
time in the room. Like I felt like and also the best thing I ever did with both my kids was even as like young babies, I would put them down and walk away and give them time by themselves. I read a book when I was pregnant with Joe and it talked about like having them give confidence in themselves. So like if they're alone, they know that they're okay being alone. When they go to bed later on, they know that they have been alone and they're fine by themselves. Right. So it's easier for them to fall asleep. But I just would put them down in their room. I'd maybe go switch the laundry and then come back. And like them having that separation, knowing like, well, I show them I always come back. Like at a young age is just really good for their independence.
Yeah, definitely. We did a sleep routine for JC, so it didn't matter when it was. We did like the same sleep routine, like if we were at home. So like 15 minutes before it was time for her to go to sleep, we dimmed her light in her bedroom, and then we would read for 5 minutes, and then we would also have a sleep machine on for 15 minutes. And JC prefers Sound of Ocean. It was not my favorite, but now I occasionally sleep to it now.
I use it because my kids, I'm like, do you phase out of that?
We still do dimmed lights, and we still do Sound Machine for 15 minutes on my phone. And I've paid like the $2 for the lifetime whatever on the app that I have like 43 different sounds.
It'll turn off after 15 minutes?
Yeah. So the app, you set it on a timer, and so like that's the 15 minutes too that I'll lay with her. Okay. And whether or not, and it's been this way since the very beginning, at the end of that 15 minutes, sister, whether or not you're asleep, daddy or dada, whoever is getting their big old hiney out of that bed.
Okay,
and
cool.
so like,
big old
and,
hiney.
So
and
more
so
like
like
a timer
even when we
kind
were
of
like
for
with
her,
her,
too.
like when she was a baby, at the end of 15 minutes, even if she wasn't asleep, we put her down.
Yep.
And
Teaching
so
them to fall asleep on their own is the best thing you can do for them.
And so now, like, it's fine. Like, when the sun machine is done, I give JC, I say, good night, sweet dreams, I love you every time and give her a kiss. Sometimes she's already asleep, and sometimes she says, good night.
Oh, she's so cute.
So we do the sound machine all night long, and then in the morning, I turn it off to wake them up. Because as soon as I turn it off, it's like their cue, like, oh, it's time.
I know.
But I went into Joe's room the other day, and hers was off, and she was still sleeping. Yeah. So I was like, do we, like, at some point phase out of this? Or, I mean, like, I'm driving a sound machine camping with us.
Probably be bringing her.
Kids love it so much.
JC will probably be bringing her first significant other home in college, and she'll be like, I have a 15-minute sound machine I gotta listen to. I'm probably totally harming her for a long time left.
Yes.
That is hilarious.
Probably totally screwing her up for that. But you know, maybe I'm okay with that.
Yeah, but who knows what she does in her parents' house? Like, she obviously does. Like,
so they, for the longest, so my dad was our Manny for a year, so he followed all of our rules. My dad had to write down when she ate, how much she ate, when she had a dirty diaper, when she had a wet diaper. I made him write down everything on spreadsheets. Like,
my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
So that I would know, like, when I got home.
It's good to know. You need to know.
And so, and everything. And so then when she would spend the night with him on the weekends, he was so used to following our routine that for the longest time, they followed it. Now she doesn't, like, sleep with the sound machine there, but she'll usually fall asleep with, like, the TV on or something in the room. And so she has ambient noise.
How did you come up with that routine? Like,
so I read, like, 2 different books, and I, like, wasn't in love with either one of them, but I liked stuff from each one. And so I just kind of, like, took stuff from each one that I thought worked for us.
Was one Mom's on Call?
Yes, that's the one I was just
that's the one I
don't think that was out when JC was little. So one is like Happy Baby, Happy Sleep or something like that.
I've heard that one. It's good.
Yeah, and then I can't remember the other one.
Baby Wise.
Baby Wise.
We call Baby Wise our baby Bible. That we followed the schedule to a T.
Did you have the Wonder Years app?
I did.
Oh my god, that was a lifesaver.
I just told my
cousin.
cousin.
Have you heard of that? I don't know what
that is. Is it Wonder Weeks or Wonder Years?
Wonder Weeks.
Okay, Wonder Weeks. I just told my cousin. It'll tell you, like, you'll be like, bro, she is crazy today. Like, what's going on? And you look at this app and it's like, she's going through a mental leap. She should be doing X, Y, Z today. And you're like, oh, this is why you're acting crazy.
Okay.
It tells you developmentally.
That's
the first sleep,
cool.
and it tells you what they're.
And
I'll share it on the podcast.
The Wonder Weeks app, that saved me from losing it so many times. Like,
that's crazy.
We were doing so good, and now you've switched, and why? And I'd pull up the app, and I'd be like, oh, no, I can give you grace because you're supposed to be doing it.
And it tells you, like, what they're learning, and then you also know, it also gives you suggestions of how to help them get through that leap. So, like,
it's so cool.
If they're learning patterns, a routine, so the first time, it shows you, like, oh, try this with your baby and see how they react. Mm-hmm. And so it's like you can see. And also then our pediatrician is the one that recommended it because he said, it is not important that they hit it on the week that it's listed, but it is important that they hit them in order.
Yes, Joey was always like 4 days before.
Yeah.
And Tootie was always late. But you always knew, like, okay, this is how you're acting like this because of that. It's
cute. The calendar will even, like, when you look at the calendar, it'll have, like, storm clouds over several days because it's like your child is going to be cranky because they're establishing or learning this.
It's so crazy. It's the best app.
Okay.
And you put, like, when they are... I think you put their due date and their delivery date. Yeah. Because that determines, like, where mentally they should be.
Yeah.
So
interesting.
Cool. Okay. Yes. So it gives me hope in, like, the maternity leave part of this that she'll... Yeah. Okay, so love all this. This is
I know,
like...
this is
now,
more
like,
just, like, baby stuff
instead
all the
of, like,
baby work
tips.
stuff. Yeah.
No, I want it, too, because I'm, like, learning, but at the same time, I'm like...
Yeah.
Just, it's so hard. This is going to sound bad, so for all of our listeners, don't judge me. It's so hard to enjoy it. Because you're like, you feel like it's the hardest, biggest change of your life, and it is. But my biggest advice would just be to, like, take a step back and, like, remove yourself a little bit and enjoy it. Mm-hmm. Like, I think it goes by so much faster than we ever think.
Oh, for sure.
And so, like, to enjoy it and just, it's hard. I mean, it is the hardest thing I've ever done. The first 12 weeks, I always tell my parents, if I didn't have to do the first 12 weeks, I would have more kids. The first 12 weeks are the hardest, and then it gets better.
I would have had another if JC wasn't the easiest baby ever, but I'm like, well, I'm not testing fate. I'm not testing fate,
Okay. Can we talk about maternity leave for a minute? Like,
absolutely.
my plan into maternity leave. So this is my ideal plan. I want to kind of bounce it off you guys. And, like, I mean, I could show you. We have a whole Google Doc that has all the plans, right? So my plan is, so I'm actually due May 22nd. So May 1st is really when I plan to start maternity leave because I have so much to do. Like, get the nursery ready, wash clothes. I want to, like, first time mom problems, like deep clean, like behind the couch and the fridge. It's like,
and take naps, like take naps
and
during
rest.
the day, like go get your nails done and like get a coffee, do whatever you want.
I have a hair appointment already scheduled. I know I'm gonna go get nails done. I'm gonna try to do maybe a massage. Well, I think if I do my pedicure though, I don't know about massages right now. It's so comfortable.
No, she likes the one where people walk on her.
No one's gonna be able to do that. I'm gonna be like, can you walk on my back? I can't wait till afterwards.
Oh my
God. But I want to take that time to just enjoy and really kind of for me, it's kind of a trial run to see like also that things can get managed without me too before she's here. Because once she is here, I want to like definitely go in, and be full in mom mode, not worry about work. Yeah. So I'm kind of giving myself that separation time right then and there.
I would also make sure that you plan 3 or 4 date nights in that month.
Okay.
Because it's like really important that you start that in like the best connection space possible.
Yeah.
So if you're going into it like, like you're doing all this stuff to relax and enjoy it, and like not saying that it's like selfish at all. You should definitely be doing those things. And also make sure that you spend time with Brian so that you guys are just like, because
your life this will is never be the same.
You guys are never going to have a life without kids again.
Yeah, and we're a little too late now. We wanted to do a baby moon. I really wanted to go to Destin, and like now I'm too late. I can't go to Florida, but I really wanted to, but we didn't. And so we are going to take a weekend like staycation. We're going to go to Rangers game together. We're going to look at a hotel around there. I've already started kind of looking and booking stuff. So that's going to be like actually the first weekend of May.
Yeah.
So we talked about that. And we do date nights. I feel like they've gotten off track in the last like year.
Get back on track that month.
Where Thursdays were when we do it. I'm sure at the beginning we won't do the date nights, but we'll definitely like eventually. Oh no! Without her, I'm thinking like we would do date night.
The first month you can take her.
Though. Take her with you on your date nights and do it.
She'll sleep in the car seat carrier.
Get out.
Yeah, so like you can still leave and like take her in the car seat. She's likely gonna sleep, and like we would literally like have it in like the seat next to us, and she just would sleep in the car seat. Because at least we could get out and still do like.
Yeah.
We went on a breakfast date when Joe was like 3 days old.
Yeah.
And they're like, she was 5 pounds 5 ounces, so she was so small. Yeah. But like you just do it because like. We need that conversation not in the house.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. We need to have that time together.
Yeah. And it's an excuse to get showered and get yourself presentable. It's like, which you will learn. There will be sometimes days where you'll skip showering just because you're like, I'm too tired. I got too much to do. And then you're like, oh, I really need to like make myself presentable to the world again. So
at least do my hair and makeup kind of thing.
Yeah.
Which lashes, I feel like will always be on point, so don't worry about that. I'm literally
Chandler's gonna have lashes on like
I'm literally
4
giving
weeks
birth in these lashes.
I know you are.
I will have them. Okay, so I plan to take the month of off, and then hopefully my ideal would be 3 months after she's here. I feel like in our business we're a little fortunate that we can do a little bit more. And then I'm going to play it by ear as I get closer. I might slowly transition back into maybe I take on one client at a time kind of thing, or at least like kind of dive into some of the stuff. But while I'm off maternity leave, so actually I've already started prepping. I have, which this is kind of hopefully like a good tip for anybody listening about to go into maternity leave. I already have someone who's going to handle listings. I have someone who's going to handle buyers. I'm kind of splitting it up.
I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Go ahead.
Listings
buyers. Yes. I'm just giving you a hard time.
Yeah. So I did that intentionally because it's like obviously they have their own business too,
right.
So I don't want to like overwhelm them where they double up. Which,
right.
I mean, like they'll get to a point where hopefully it's busy enough. But then I am fortunate enough where I have an assistant, so even if I didn't have her, I could see where I would need to be pre-planning like some marketing and like other things more.
Yes.
Which we've already.
Is Modern Nest going to post on social media?
Yeah.
Okay.
So what we talked about, and that's like we kind of pre-planned what that looks like. So like the week that she's here, I want it to still be like, because I would still help Rachel with doing like some of the marketing of what's happening that week. But when she's here, like we can slow it down obviously to where I'm off. They know I'm on maternity leave. We could talk about the baby. Like I have a whole plan on like introducing the baby, like, making it part of the business kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so we're going to do that. And then, yes, I still want to make sure we're having that online presence. So whether you're an agent and don't have an assistant, you're pre-scheduling some of that out. I think that's important, whether it's just even like twice a week, something's coming out, or you have an assistant who can keep up that online presence. To me, like I want the business to still be coming. We also have an email that we're going to be sending out here very soon, right before I take maternity leave. That's kind of, I titled it, what to expect when your realtor's expecting.
Cool.
And so it's like basically like saying like, you know, still contact me. Basically saying like, don't be afraid to not, you know, use me as a realtor, because I do have people. I've already set up someone to help, right? And my transition's going to be that it you know, gets transitioned over to them, but they at least, they're being handled. And then from there, of course, being an agent, I'm still going to get a percentage of that. So I'm still bringing in some income, right? So at the same time. And then we're also planning, I call them like evergreen emails, where they're going to get emails from me that Rachel's actually going to send out, to where they get like either a check-in email with me, from me, and that's going to be everybody. And if they do reach out to me about either wanting to buy or sell, they're going to get an email from me that's like, hey, you know, you talked to so-and-so, she said it went well, you know, just kind of that.
Just checking in.
Once they go under contract, they'll get an email from me. And then once they close, they'll get an email from me. So it's like, I'm still there, because these are people who, they're still my clients and will stay my clients after I'm, you know, go back to full-time work. I just want to make sure they're still hearing from me. So we're kind of planning some things like that, to where I'm present, pre-recording videos, things like that, to where I'm still showing my face and, you know, voice and all that. It just isn't me. So that's my plan.
Yeah.
Okay. I was
it's
like,
a good plan.
I'm like,
Solid.
there's still a lot to do in the month of April, but we're still like, we've got an idea.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're going to be fine.
And then transitioning back into it, like we were talking about earlier, I have no idea. I don't know yet what.
I think that's the best plan.
Yeah.
Let's just do it, like take it as it comes.
Yeah.
Yeah. You could get to 3-month mark, and you could like what you have going on, and you could want to do another 3 months. You could get to the 1 month mark and be like, I know I planned for 3 months, but screw this, I'm going back right now. So it's like, you just kind of have to know that what you feel in the moment is what you have to really do.
Yeah. Yep. Awesome. Okay. Well, it makes me feel better. Like, I think having that plan, because I'm such a planner, made me feel like better about this. And honestly, like, I've kind of recently, like, even in the last month or so, I feel like I can feel myself kind of already wanting to take the maternity leave sooner than I thought. And I think the biggest thing is because in real estate, like, business is 90 days out. Like, if I meet a new, like, right now, like, I'm meeting with a new seller today, and I'm like, they're probably not going to sell for at least another, you know, couple weeks. By that time, I'm going to be on maternity leave. And so in my mind, it's like I'm almost already shutting down a little bit of like, not that I don't want to help them, but it's like I could tell where, you know, it's going to, I mean, I need to learn that transition now. Because
and that might just be your body, like your body and mind, like maybe she's going to come sooner, so your body's trying to slow you down a little bit.
Yeah.
You don't know.
Yeah. That's what I talked to another agent who she gave birth, and he came, I think, 6 weeks early, which would be like literally if I gave birth this week. And so I'm like, oh, like,
it happens.
Yeah, I'm not ready
Joey
for that yet.
I had Joey at 38 weeks and Judy at 36.
Yeah. 32 and 36?
38. Was late.
38, 36. Okay. And she was late?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It was like,
and I was
knock, come on out.
Which I think would drive me more crazy, because I'd be like every day like, God.
Yeah, because
it's
at
almost
that point
better when it's early, because it's a surprise.
Yeah, it was worse for me because I was, as a designer, I had set my last day of work, and so I'm like literally just kind of sitting there like drumming my fingers of like, sister, I'm already off.
Yeah.
You gotta come out. Come on. Like, time's already a ticket.
You're on my time now.
Exactly.
And that's partly why I want to take the 3 weeks off before her due date, is then I could, like, in case she comes, it's like we're ready.
Yeah.
Maybe, or like more ready.
Have you had any Braxton Hicks or anything?
Yeah, I had some this morning. I've been having them for a little bit, and then this morning they were like even more, a little more intense. Like, it's not hurt. It doesn't hurt. It's just like uncomfortable, and then my stomach gets like really hard all of a sudden. So I'm like, I know that's what that is.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Fun times. Okay. Well, that's okay. So that's.
I think that's everything. Was there anything else? I think one of the things you were going to ask us, like, if we turn our phones off.
When you're with your kids. And how you handle business.
So you have the 2-phone method.
It's the best.
Yeah, so just like super fast.
To someone yesterday. It's just so nice if I want to go to the park, or if Pat and I want to go to lunch with kids and just be with the kids. I'm still like accepting the work, right? Because my phone's still on, but I'm leaving it at home, and I will get back to it. And that's just that
it's
line in the
separate,
sand.
personal.
What's it called?
That's literally the line.
The boundaries.
Boundary. Like, that boundary is, like, it lets me, and the kids know, like, there is no social media on my other phone. Like, it's for calls and text messages to, like, our family and friends.
Yeah.
And so I don't have that distraction of wanting to, like, if they're at the park, that, like, temptation of, like, oh, I'll just, like, scroll on social media. Like, I get to be present. And I think that's, like, that really helps me. Like, and then when they know when I'm with my phone, like, when I'm on my other phone, they know it's my work phone, and they just, like, can figure it out.
Yeah.
I don't turn my phone off ever. It's like, I joke that it's like surgically attached to my hand for me. You know, Maggie's the same way. Like, we just don't ever put our phones down. Nope. But I do definitely try to, like, I will, like, if we're at dinner, like, I will flip it face down on a table. I try to do that for dates too. I kind of think of it as the same thing. It's like, if I don't see it, then I can just ignore it at least. And then, like, obviously I don't during, like, bedtime. Like, my phone is just, like, it's just not with me at those points. I don't turn it off, but I just put it to somewhere it's, like, where I know that it's not. If we're just, like, hanging out and she's, like, watching cartoons or playing with something, it's like, then I will still be on my phone and I'll still work and whatnot, because we're not, like, doing something. Yeah. We'll do, like, movie night, and I'll put my phone, like, away for that, or, like, if we're playing games. But when they're, like, little and you're just, like, kind of holding them as, like, little potatoes, you can still work on your phone. I was still sending, like, work emails at, like, a week in, because I was still playing, like, catch up from stuff that I had left. And then, and it's so early on, it's not as big of a deal as it's like when they have the awareness that you're on your phone. That's when you gotta start watching yourself. So
your hack would be, like, good for anyone with kids or not kid or no kids. Like that is something I should do. Is separate. But I don't think I could.
About that.
It is literally the
it's so hard once you're done, because you would have to get a new number for just family stuff. Yeah, right. So it's like all your family would have to get a new number.
When going into real estate, my personal number is a Maryland number. So I knew anyone in Dallas isn't going to answer a Maryland 301 number. So I was like, if I'm going to be a professional in this industry, in this city, I have to have the same phone number. So that's why I divided it too. Yeah. And I wasn't willing to give up. I've had that phone since I was 13. So I wasn't willing to lose that number. Yeah. But I would definitely recommend anyone who's listening too, if you're starting real estate, like, having that division, especially if you do have kids, was one of the best decisions I made for my family.
Get yourself a burner.
Get a burner phone. Yeah. Love it. Okay. So my biggest takeaways are, I need to just be flexible, especially once she's here for maternity leave. And I feel like the maternity leave part is totally different than once I get back from maternity leave. Like, I feel like maternity leave is just survival mode / attending to her, which is the intent of my maternity leave, but then figuring out that transition. And then when I get back into it, is setting those boundaries for sure. And, like, boundaries with clients, but also boundaries with, like, myself and my family too, like, to where I can time block, if you will, especially when I work and when I'm with family.
Okay. And take advantage of them. They live close. Have them come over and help you. Have them come over and let you take a nap. Have them
but that's so all of our parents work still. Like, no one's, you know what I mean?
You take a nap at 6 p.m. Like, you can, like, have them after work come over and just, like, ask. I think if I were to do it again, I would ask for more help.
I can tell you, like, one of the best things that happened for us, we had to drive back from San Antonio, but coming back from the hospital, and that was during a snowstorm, so instead of taking 5 hours, it took us 12 overnight, 6 p.m. to 6 a.m., but I can tell you, like, the best thing in the world is that my parents and one of my brothers were already at our house waiting for us. So we literally walked in, and I just, like, handed JC to my mom and was like, I love you, and we went to bed. Like, so they, like, my mom, and of course, because grandparents, like, they want that time, so my mom was like, give her to me right now, you know? Yeah. And so I was like, yeah, absolutely. Like, I'm going to go sleep for about 4 days, I feel like, you know?
Love
so
it.
That was, like, one of the best things for us.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for all your advice. And then I feel like we're going to have to do a check-in video or podcast, like, at the end of the year. Like, once.
I know, right?
Maggie will be up next. And, like,
my biggest concern is being pregnant and handling real estate. Like, 'cause I'm exhausted right now.
Yeah.
I would be dying right now.
So pregnant. I would say the exhaustion part. The exhaustion part really hasn't hit me until more recently, like the third trimester. Really, the first trimester, I was just sick. So that did suck, but I was still, like, doing the things I had to do.
Were you sick mostly in the mornings?
It was in the evenings. Yeah, I don't know why.
No, you had some mornings because you would run, like,
I remember, Well, I had a couple.
I had to pull over and get sick.
Yeah. So that does happen. Yeah, that happened. But it was the evenings really when I got more sick.
Yeah.
Or sometimes it'd be in the middle of the day. There's just no timeline.
So for me, I was so sick with Joey. I was so sick with her. I puked almost every single day the whole pregnancy, like so bad. And then with Tootie, I had weird things happen with Tootie.
Yeah.
Like my body with that testosterone, I don't know what it was. Like I got warts so bad, like over all my hands. Like there's just like so pregnancy is just like
a wild thing.
It's the most precious and amazing thing, and it's also like the most terrifying and exhausting thing.
Yeah.
I think and like the pregnancy symptoms were one thing, but I think mentally, like that's where I'm like, even right now, that's where I feel like I've kind of already shut my brain off from work. So I feel like that's kind of been, I've seen people pregnant and killing it still real estate. I'm almost like mentally checking out right now, which I know I'm getting closer and closer, where I'm just like, I'm like exhausted right now.
I think it's your body that like knows that she might be coming sooner.
Yeah.
Because I felt like that's how I was.
Don't
like,
say that. Don't put that out there. I'm so scared.
I came at 34 weeks, and that was like my body, or 36 weeks. I knew like there was just something like I couldn't.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't know.
Get ready.
So.
Yep.
All right.
We'll all figure it out. But anyways.
All right.
Okay,
Thanks for
bye, guys.
joining.
See you
and
next
we'll
week.
next week.
Yep.
Bye.